We have so many problems on our side that my opinion is not my monkeys, not my circus.
We've got Gavin Newsom making a lot of noise. My favourite description of him is America's toxic boyfriend.
What she's doing is a smart way to sell books. I don't know if she really wants to run again.
And we all live in an information world ecosystem now in which the Trump story spreads like wildfire.
Since storming back into the White House in the biggest comeback since, well, Lazarus, President Trump hasn't just torn up the rulebook, he set it on fire. In a blizzard of executive orders, Trump has tested legal and constitutional guardrails across every single aspect of American life. His supporters insist this shock and awe strategy was the only way to cure sick America. But critics scream words like authoritarianism and outright dictatorship. But how true is that? Trump voters expect their man to deliver, especially on the economy, and seem to tolerate the chaos so far. But more worryingly, the Democrat opposition, whose actual job it is to challenge and push back against the administration, seem to be missing in action. Yes, you've got arch lefties like AOC and Madami in New York who fire off their regular salvos, but their unhinged brand of woke extremism is pretty difficult to take seriously, especially when they say nutty stuff like this.
Today, the Republican House majority brought to the floor a resolution honoring, quote, honoring the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk. His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans.
That billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires.
Right. So while mainstream Democrats are still reeling from the shock of Trump's return, the socialist kids seem to be trying to take over the party. And meanwhile, is Donald Trump getting away with too much? And what do the Democrats need to do to get back on the pitch? Well, joining me to discuss that is former Biden staffer Michael LaRosa. Michael, from where I'm sitting, it seems that the Democrat Party is still pretty punch-drunk. They are, you know, it's like the bomb has gone off, they've still got their fingers in their ears, they're ringing, they're reeling. There's no real opposition. And meanwhile, the Trump train is just tearing through, almost unchecked.
Yeah, that's sort of the way the system works when you are out of power in all three branches. We have to rely on the courts to sort of rein the president in, and a lot of the courts are doing that. Most of the courts around the country have done that and have at least prevented him from moving faster than he would like. Now, halfway through his term, we have the midterm election. And this town, Washington, D.C., could look very different in about a year from now, a little over a year from now, because Democrats picked up 2 seats when Donald Trump won the presidency in 2024, probably thanks to Kamala Harris, actually, because they made a transition from Biden to Harris. We were able to keep a lot of Senate seats that we didn't expect to keep, and picked up 2 seats in the House, making the margin for error among Republicans very small. So our chances of taking back the House of Representatives is actually quite good mathematically, and that will slow him down even more.
Is that true, though? Because I've been looking at some polling. CNN had some polling this week that showed that Trump, on those key issues, things like the economy and immigration, Trump hasn't just, he's gaining support. He's actually gained since November's election on the crunch issues that these elections come down to.
Sure, but what I love about midterm elections is that they're kind of denationalized.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what Democrats have to do, and Republicans will be doing as well, is they narrow down about 45 to 65 different communities around the country. And those contests are about who can better represent their district, who's a more tailor-made fit. And when the math is only 5 seats in order to win back power, the odds are really good for Democrats right now. And as George W. Bush remembers from the 2006 election, we made life very difficult for him those last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be itching to start trying to impeach President Trump again and again and again. All those committees, I can see it. I can see it coming. Just briefly, how worried are you about the rise of the sort of hard left within the Democrats? AOC is obviously making a lot of noise. You've got Madami up in New York, sort of President Obama gave a sort of tacit support to Mend Army, despite his pretty extreme left-wing platform and previous comments. In Britain, we saw this when the Labour Party lost the election in 2015. They shifted very hard to the left with Jeremy Corbyn and essentially lost control of their party for 6 years. What's the concerns about a similar sort of tilt to the left, and how do you think that's going to go down with the American public?
It's a good question. It's getting a lot of attention here. I think, like, the ironic part is that in New York, the National Democratic Party leadership, in the House of Representatives and the Senate, are both a senator and a congressman from New York City as well. And they haven't decided to endorse him yet. They might. I'm hoping they don't. I don't think he's a good reflection of the rest of the Democratic Party. And that is a big election this November, the mayor's election in New York City. But there is a governor's race in New Jersey and a governor's race in Virginia. And those states do reflect more of the rest of our country. Manhattan has always been sort of an anomaly in terms
a woke liberal hotspot. I describe it. My words, not yours, I suspect. Let's talk about the sort of national state of the party, though. And obviously, attention's looking towards who could be the person to fight the next presidential election. We've got Gavin Newsom making a lot of noise. My favourite description of him is America's toxic boyfriend. Is he a serious candidate? And come on, do you really think Kamala Harris could have another tilt after what happened last time?
So Gavin Newsom is a very talented political athlete. He he takes risks, unlike most Democrats. He ran ads in Palm Beach a couple of years ago just to
annoy Donald Trump.
Just to annoy Donald Trump. He's the closest we have to really even the scales when it comes to punching back. But it's going to be a big, crowded primary on both sides. To be honest, on the Republican side, there won't be a coronation of the vice president. Most people on the Republican side don't know if the vice president can actually win. But on the Democratic side, no, I don't think Vice President Harris will have a good chance. I think I don't know if she even wants to run again.
Well, she's not ruling it out on her book tour. She seems to be settling a few scores, throwing everyone under the bus, and likes being back in the centre of attention. But she needs to be severely up her game if she's got any chance of it, right?
I think what she's doing is a smart way to sell books. I don't know if she really wants to run again. We'll see. I think her best shot, and look, I'm not unsympathetic to the argument that she was handed a campaign with 107 days, and no other president in our history has ever done that to their party or to their vice president.
Yeah,
However,
that's part of the problem, wasn't it? In the fact that the American public looked at what went on in the White House, the unedifying spectacle of Joe Biden, and then being eased out, and thought we're not really up for that.
And Biden has to accept most of that blame for where we are now. However, when we did take a look at what she was like as a candidate, there were a lot of things that people, Democrats especially, did not like. She's very risk averse. It's hard to get an opinion out of her. It's hard to get a position. And
that's not leadership, is it?
Well, it doesn't sell. People would rather you have a position. People would rather have somebody give their position or give their opinion about something maybe they disagree with, rather than run scared. And because that just shows you just want to get elected and you're trying to hide the ball.
Who are the Democrats most afraid of come 2028? You've obviously got J.D. Vance, and they're already calling him 48 in Trump world circles. A J.D. Vance Rubio ticket is being floated as well. J.D. Vance, Don Jr. perhaps, keep the brand alive. Who are you guys looking across the aisle and sweating a bit at?
You know what? We have so many problems on our side that my opinion is not my monkeys, not my circus. We'll let them figure that out. And we have our own circus to deal with. We have a lot to fix before we even get there. And I think it's going to be another really crowded Democratic primary. But I do like the fact, I think it is appealing and attractive, that the Republicans have these two younger generation of leaders in Vance and a Rubio. I hope Democrats lean towards a more younger generation. I hope we go with an outsider, someone who's not a politician.
If you were a betting man, who would it be?
Betting that who it will be or who I want it to be?
Both.
I would like to see Mark Cuban run at this point. I'm also a big fan of Rahm Emanuel and his style, his tactics, and his brain.
Chicago bruising back in the Democratic Party. Michael, thank you for joining us. Take care.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
Right, well, next we have Tom Peck, the man from The Times, a sketchwriter extraordinaire and something of a comedian, I'm told. A very funny writer. If you haven't been reading his sketches, you've been doing politics all wrong. Tom, you had the pleasure, while we're discussing the Democrats, of sitting through an exclusive evening, well, exclusive to 20,000 people in the O2 Arena last night, of Barack Obama. How was that?
And what a pleasure it was. You know, you've been talking just then about the Democrat candidate for next time round. What somebody sitting near me last night said last night was that, you know, Trump keeps flying these kites, doesn't he, making these suggestions that he could do a third term. I mean, I don't quite know how he would amend the Constitution to make him eligible for a third term, but without making Obama eligible for a third term.
What a grudge match that would be.
Season finale, yeah.
Yeah, it's the conclusion we all deserve. But I think, you know, I wonder though, would Obama win that these days? He seems, you know, he's always been very, very long on the rhetoric and very short on the detail. Was he in full singing mode last night?
I mean, what a treat to be there, kind of. I mean. Obviously, I keep my own political views very close to my chest, but I will exclusively reveal that I was a young man once in 2008, and I did fly out to DC to be on the Mall for this era-defining moment of change. And I think there were quite a few people sitting around me last night who might also have been there, not that young anymore, and sort of given up on the idea of hope and change and are happy to just pay £100 to sit in a dark room and pretend that the outside world doesn't exist anymore. You know, there's that Velvet Underground song, isn't there? You know, and if you close the door, the night could last forever. And I think there were a lot of middle-class, well-off liberals having a nice hour and a half of complete denial.
Was there any contrition, though? Was there any suggestion, you know, the failures of the Obama White House, the failures of the Obama presidency, was what opened the door to Trump won. Was there any self-reflection on that from the man himself?
I don't think there was any contrition at all. No, none of that. I mean, the trouble is, with Obama, if you're an Obama fan, you are long past the point of wanting to listen to yet more kind of elegant variations on the challenges of liberal democracy. You're now at a point of where you're just like, no, just download me the instructions, tell me what to do. This has to change. We've got to take a stand. We've got to turn things around. And I don't think he has the answer to any of those questions. I mean, his central shtick, if you like, was this, that we all have two stories inside us. One is sort of common humanity, and the other one is blood and soil nationalism, and that's humanity's default setting. And for a while after the Second World War, we went towards common humanity, but it's kind of expiring now. It's like, okay, mate, fine. We all know that stuff. Like, I mean, I did that stuff at university 25 years ago. You need answers. I mean, he's correctly identified a problem, which is that if you consider those two stories to be the Trump story and the Obama story, then we all live in an information world ecosystem now in which the Trump story spreads like wildfire and the Obama story doesn't. He knows that. What we need are the answers, not yet. Well, we understand the problems well enough. I mean, there was a bit where I think he spoke, and I'm not exaggerating, for 25 minutes without interruption. There was a moderator there, the historian David Olasuga, who I think said 3 sentences in an hour and a half. He spoke without interruption, honestly, for 25 minutes on the subject of artificial intelligence. And he's like, the people in my seats it's to £250 a ticket where I was. And he's sitting there saying, well, AI could find a cure for cancer. It could crack the secret of cold fusion, but also, you know, there's a chance that it could kill us all. We could all end up being enslaved by it. Like, all right, mate. I mean, I don't think there's anyone here who is not aware of that.
I don't think, Tom, you could pay me £250 to go to sit through that. You're a brave man. Go to the Times, read his sketch from last night. It had me chortling over my cornflakes this morning. Tom, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Not at all. Come back soon. Right, pick all that apart. Let's go stateside to speak tonight's panel. Returning to Save the West, it's the Washington's Free Beacon's John Levine, and making her Save the West debut, Emily Jasinski from Emily's After Party, one of my new favourite go-to podcasts. Good evening, guys. Emily, let's start with you. We've just been discussing there, the Democrats, they're not even on the pitch. There's more protests against this government in the United States on the streets than there is on the Hill. What can they do? They seem to be just reeling.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're debating a government shutdown, and they can't come to any sense of agreement on that, actually in a way similar to where Republicans struggled as they wandered in the Tea Party wilderness not that long ago, because the leadership of the Democratic Party doesn't know whether it's better for them to side with their grassroots or if it's better for them to maybe show some spine and try to work with Donald Trump to get some compromise or priorities into a spending package. So you could even see Kamala Harris speaking in New York City last night and getting protested on the Gaza issue. They are almost too divided to find a way to unify an opposition and to rally an opposition. And that's been an enormous challenge for them in the first half of this year back with Donald Trump in the White House.
John, how helpful is Kamala Harris's week of poor me settling scores? I've got a book to sell. Let me lift the lid on how awful everyone suspected it was, and turns out even they agreed it was terrible. This doesn't help the Democrats to come back together, does it? When she's literally slagging everyone off.
I think it's very important for Kamala and her legacy and to help her sleep at night to explain sort of what happened. And it wasn't my fault. It was everybody else's fault. I really wanted Mayor Pete, but the country was too homophobic. But obviously, it just goes to foment divisions within the Democratic Party, because now you're having Joe Biden hitting back at her saying that's not true. And all the different people and all the different parties who she's insulting and attacking in this book are going to have their responses. And it just takes the message away from President Trump. It takes the message away from Republicans, and it takes their party away from forming a coherent message that they're going to need to form to make a compelling case about why they should be returned to power in the midterms and beyond.
Emily, we were just discussing there Obama's return. He's made some sort of, well, he's not really a return as such, more just sort of, lecturing everyone from the sidelines as he's been doing for the last decade. He made a really interesting sort of point to sort of semi-endorse Mendami in New York, and he's the most senior Democrat power broker to give the socialists the nod. Within the Democrats, what fears are there that they risk losing control of their parties to the hard left if someone doesn't get a grip on it soon?
Yeah, it's an incredible fear that's motivating. For example, the reason that Kamala Harris, when asked by Rachel Maddow about Mamdani recently, said, I will support the Democratic candidate. Didn't even say I will support Zohran Mamdani, but said the Democratic candidate, because they're not sure what to do with him. And part of the reason for that, Tim Miller actually explained this after he had Zohran Mamdani on his podcast, The Bulwark. He told me on After Party about a month ago that one of the things he started hearing in the background from Democrats was they worry that getting behind Mamdani will inspire a wave of primary challengers. Again, sort of like what happened with the Tea Party, that toppled people in positions of Republican leadership. So they're trying to keep him at an arm's length, in a sense, to keep their grassroots at an arm's length because they're afraid of their own voters.
John, I mean, it seems to me that, for people that perhaps enjoy the sport of watching left-wing parties implode, we're in for the long haul here. How helpful was Obama's intervention, and what's he up to? Is he securing his own legacy, or is he genuinely trying to shift the party to the left?
I think at this point, Obama is never helpful in any capacity after his post-presidency. It feels to me like he was president 200 years ago. Yeah. He is completely out of touch with where the Democratic Party is today. I cannot think of it. I mean, occasionally Obama will give a talk and it'll go viral on social media and there'll be a clip and I'll be like, who is this man? And he'll be saying something that's completely out of the mainstream. It's like he hasn't turned on a television or read a newspaper. He's not plugged in to where the Democratic Party is today right now. And I think that's the key thing. And you're going to see a lot more people like Mamdani come, and they are going to primary establishment Democrats. And Democrats are going to be afraid to endorse them because they know if you endorse Mamdani, you take upon all his positions onto yourself. They all wash over you. And just like defund the police and many other sort of, and BLM and these mass psychoses that Democrats have undergone in recent years. I suspect a lot of what Mamdani is putting forward now, in 5 years from now, a lot of Democrats are going to pretend like, well, dude, that never happened.
Yeah, much like it's happened in here. Jeremy Corbyn, who was that guy?